One of the things I ended up finding out is that New Year's resolutions, they don't stick. There's been already reports that say that usually by the first first month of January, about what was it? Like over 50% of people are going to not even be continuing it. And then even by the end of 2026, only 9% would have actually continued on and actually fulfilled their goal that they set out to do. And one of the things I have found out going through my journey of deprogramming myself from this, what the world says is the standard of, hey, you should be doing a New Year's resolution in January. And after doing scriptural reading and finding out we're made from the earth, we're made from nature. Most High made us based off of the clay and the dirt and his breath and in his image of creativity. And what I've been finding out is when I am working within those cycles of seasons, the seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and I'm working based on those, I have seen exponential growth in not just what I've been learning, but what I have been doing and what I have been able to accomplish. Because if you read throughout scripture, Yahuwah is always referring back to gardens. He's always referring back to trees. And if we're from the earth, that means that, hey, you're a garden yourself. He symbolizes you also as a tree as well. And what do the seasons represent for, let's just stick with trees for here for this example, is that you can plant a tree during springtime. It grows during summer, so cultivating, so you're giving nutrients and everything else. And then summertime, you end up having a harvest. And then winter comes. And winter is, of course, a time of dormancy. It's a time of rest. It's a time of reflecting back on the year of like what worked for this tree, what did not work for this tree. So when you look at when you're trying to do a New Year's resolution during the month of January, you're doing it literally in the dead of winter when everything, if you look outside your window, if you're going out into nature where everything is resting, nothing in nature is trying to grow right now. Nothing in nature is trying to create something new. It's a time of rest, it's a time of reflection. So here's one of the 3 things that I now do instead of a New Year's resolution. First, when it is winter time, so January, it's a time of rest and reflection. This is to look back on the year itself and seeing what has worked and what didn't. What changes need to be done, what could new inputs be used to be able to move you forward. That is what winter is for. And going back to the garden analogy, if you actually I have gone into gardening and I have learned a lot, especially when you compare it to the word. Winter is literally the time for you just to be cleaning up. It's like, hey, you clean up the garden, you're getting some supplies, you're re-looking over, okay, what plant did well, what did not. I'm looking at the calendar to figure out like, oh, okay, I think I planned this way too early. I planned this way too late. I didn't use this right fertilizer, or this disease came and took this one plant away. The time of winter is the plan on how you're going to attack in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. How are you going to make sure those seasons are successful? So by looking back on what worked, what didn't, and what changes can be had, that's what winter is for. Winter is for rest. It's for reflection. It's a time of slowing down. And then when spring comes, usually about March, depends on which part of the hemisphere you are, but in March, that's a time of new life. That's a time of new beginnings. That's when everything is starting to blossom. That's when you're planting seeds and you actually even get more sunlight. Winter, you're getting about maybe, depending on where you're at, about 8 hours. Spring is when you start getting up in those hours. You end up getting up to 9, 10 hours of sunlight, 12 hours, depending on where you're at. Or if you're in Alaska, just almost 23 hours. But that is it. We are spiritual beings that are based on seasonal cycles. Winter is not a time to be starting something new. Winter is about finishing those old projects, getting stuff into order. It's about figuring out what changes do I need to make sure that the next year is going to be prosperous. 2 is getting to the root cause of what caused some of the no return on your investments during your previous year. And that could be when you're setting a new goal or you're starting a new project. If you do not address what caused the breakdown in the first place. So, for example, I know one of the biggest New Year's resolutions is I want to get back to the gym. And within usually a matter of a few weeks, you stop going. Why? That's what winter's for. Reflect back on what did I do that got me in the gym in the first place? Why did I get back in the gym? It's literally where, when, why, and how. It's going to where did the breakdown occur? At what time frame did it occur? When did that occur? Why did it occur? Is it because I didn't have enough time? Is that because life started getting into the way? And then figuring out how do I get myself back on track to that? And the thing about it is, during this time, be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace when walking through this, when working through this, because you're starting something new. That's the other downfall that I found with working on this world standard. It thinks that everything has to happen right now. If you have not been back in the gym, and regardless of what amount of time it is, it's a new habit you're forming. It's a new project that you're bringing into your life. And if you're looking at your life and you're thinking, and you reflecting back on the where, when, why, and how of why it broke down where you're not going to the gym, what you have to see and realize is, okay, if my issue was time, meaning I just did not have the time to be able to be in the gym for an hour because life got in the way, that could be a sign that you right now currently have too much on your plate. So to figure out any solution, it's either learning to either coattail one of your other hobbies or anything that's taking time away from you going to the gym, if that's really what you want. Or the other thing is you probably started out way too big. Because how can you go from 0 times in the gym to I'm going to go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week? There's 7 days in the week, everyone. So if you're going from 0 to 4 to 5, that's literally going from 0 to about 50 to 60%. Almost 70, depending if you go up to 5. Putting in that effort that you never put in before. That's literally setting yourself up to failure. That's pretty much telling a young child who's now starting in mathematics, oh, hey, here's algebra, start doing it, when they don't even know addition and subtraction yet. You're making the bar way too high for yourself. Start out small. If you want to get yourself back in the gym, instead be like, I can spare myself 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's all I have right now. Use that time just to do 50 squats. Use that to do 20 push-ups. Do about 20 sit-ups. Use that time to stretch. And slowly build up that habit over the season. Don't ever look down on small beginnings. We all had to start somewhere. It's better to start out small and build it up than to make a project so big and try to tackle it completely at one time and end up failing. The third thing that I do now, I use the winter season now to reflect and renew. Going back to the math problem, order of operations, a set of rules that dictates the sequence in which, mathematical operations should be performed to ensure consistent results. So small steps each day. It's like the scripture says of Zechariah 4:10 in the NLT. It says, "Do not despise small beginnings, for Yahuwah rejoices to see the work begin." As I was saying, just find 15 minutes a day. Start there. Start with some squats. Start with some sit-ups. Start up with some push-ups. Start building up that small consistency of just 15 minutes each day, just doing those 3 exercises. Do that for a season, and then start adding more to it as you go along. Because it's those small steps, those small beginnings that build up consistency, that build up momentum. Because there's no such thing as overnight success. It's all taking small steps each day and letting those small steps accumulate and build up and compound until it leads to that success. So, what to do instead this winter? Just get yourself in order. Finish any projects that you started in the previous year that need to be done. Clean up. I know everybody's like, "Oh, spring cleaning because it's a new season and everything." Winter is actually the perfect time to get stuff in order. Going back to the gardening analogy, that's literally what winter is during gardening. It's actually getting stuff prepped up. It's saying, "What am I planting in the spring? What is my plan to see what season to be planted in spring, which one needs to be planted in summer, fall? What fertilizers do I need? What sprays do I need to be getting right now?" And also another thing with the garden analogy, a lot of times, a lot of the supplies you need are cheaper actually during this time because it's technically the off season. Use this time to clean your house instead. So that way when spring hits, you don't have to worry about getting the house in order. The Most High likes to bless stuff that is in order. Use this time of reflection. Use this time as planning time. Use this to see when as time to rest and reflect. So when spring does come, you're ready with everything you need to be able to be successful. Stay blessed.